Hey everybody, it's your friend Moonhorse here. I'm going to read you some more stories from, well, my subreddit, honestly. This is from Reddit user Strawberry Milk Elf. I like your name. The Cosplaying Legbeard Furry. Part 1. Oh, we have a series. Hello, my ladies and gentle sirs. For the past year now, I've really enjoyed reading and listening to neck and legbeard stories. It recently occurred to me that I have many of my own I can share with the entire internet and spread the cringe wealth. Forgive me for any spelling or grammatical errors. I'm really new to Reddit, and I'm still trying to find my footing. A bit about myself: I'm an avid cosplayer and con goer, and have been for about 6 or 7 years now. Through my nerdy escapades, I've met many a neckbeard. However, I only came across one legbeard in my journeys thus far. That very Legbeard is the center of this story. I'll introduce the characters. Myself, I'll be referring to myself as Ham, 16 to 19 years old at the time this story takes place. Very shy and quiet, medium height, about 5'4", and quite thin, which is something I've always felt rather weird about, since many people commented on my weight while I was growing up. This comes in later. Biracial, born female, but I identify as non-binary, and I use they. I'm going to assume them, not him, as into him a shirt. I'm picking on you, I know what it is, it's fine. Pronouns. However, if/when people mess up or get confused, it's no big deal. At this point in my life, I was a very insecure kid, and had a tendency to kind of be a doormat. Starry-eyed new cosplayer. Sweetie, my best friend in high school, introduced me to cosplaying and conventions. Absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. Tall, looks like Snow White with an hourglass figure. She, like myself, tended to be more of a passive person. However, she was much more outgoing than I was at the time. Guts, a minor character, one of the nicest guys I ever met. Called Guts because he cosplays as, and looks like, Guts from the anime Berserk. If you've never seen it, I haven't, just imagine a big burly anime guy who swings around a massive sword slaying medieval creatures. Now I will. And Legbeard, or LB for short. Short hair that always seemed to be dyed a new color every other month, causing her hair to look rather fried and dead. Loved all things edgy. Unlike most Legbeards, had pretty good hygiene. In fact, she was kind of a self-care freak as she spent her paycheck mostly on Lush products. The only outward Legbeard cliche was her weight, as she was on the heavy side. Also a huge SJW. I have nothing against social justice. I think it's wonderful. But LB was the kind of person to take it to a whole new level and give the movement a really bad name. Overall, very hostile attitude. Ooh, buckle up, baby. It's going to be a bumpy ride. The story begins when I'm about 16, in my sophomore year of high school. Sweetie and I became fast friends during our freshman year when she helped me through a pretty bad relationship I was in at the time. Soon, we were inseparable. We shared many common interests such as art and anime and gaming and, just overall nerdy stuff. She had actually introduced me to Homestuck, I know, which I fell in love with. Not long after hearing about how much fun she had at conventions and how great cosplay was, I finally mustered up enough courage to ask if I'd be able to go with her next time there was a con. I really liked the idea of cosplaying. I was just very insecure at the time, and being dressed as someone else, with someone else's confidence, in turn, well, that'd give me confidence. Dressing up has always been a bit of a blast for me. As a kid, many childhood birthday parties were themed and involved extravagant costumes, so this seemed right up my alley. Sweetie had let me know that the next convention was in a few months and taking place in Boston, a city only about an hour and a half away from our hometown. She warned me, however, that it's fairly large, and that I may be a bit overwhelmed at first. We both were diagnosed with anxiety, which is something we bonded over. However, she's been on medication for hers, whereas I had not begun therapy or any kind of medication for mine yet. I don't do well in tight places, so a crowded con may be a little much for me. I told her that I'd try my best, and if things got overwhelming, I'd tell her and we'd leave to get some air. For the next few months, we planned. Our parents helping us by paying for the hotel room, in which her mother and older brother would be staying with us since we're minors. Sewing our own costumes, building our own props. Looking back now, none of what we made it wasn't that impressive, but we had a blast making them, and that was what matters. Absolutely. Finally, the day of the convention arrives, and our parents even allow us to be dismissed from school early so we don't miss out on the first day. All right. We get into our cosplays. I was a Homestuck character, while Sweetie was dressed as a character from the anime Kill la Kill. I'm willing to wager that you guessed by the sound of my voice, I have no idea what that is. And Sweetie's mom drove us to the con. I was in awe of how big conventions really were. I'd heard of Comic-Con a few times before this, but never really knew much about conventions. I had a bit of anxiety on the first floor of the con, so we decided let's check out the third floor, which was the highest, and not many people flock there since it's mostly just panel rooms. After calming down a bit, Sweetie shows me the convention halls, the artist gallery, and the dealer's room. Whenever we were on the first floor in a crowded area, she asked if I wanted to hold her hand, which I greatly appreciated. I really couldn't have asked for a better friend. Around lunchtime, Sweetie gets a text message from some of her cosplay friends, asking if she wanted to meet them at the nearby cheesecake factory for lunch. She asked me if I'd like to go, which I reply, yeah, and she agrees to meet them and tells them that she'll be bringing a friend. I'm excited and nervous to meet Sweetie's friends, since she was the only friend I had that cosplayed at the time. Now I want to make a good first impression, and I want to make more friends who share my hobby. We see 3 girls waiting in line for the Cheesecake Factory, and they wave Sweetie over. Once we both get in line with them, Sweetie introduces me. Everyone, this is my friend Ham. This is their first con. I say hi, and everyone introduces themselves. This is where I meet LB. LB did not immediately come off as any kind of Legbeard. She looked like a normal nerdy girl cosplaying anime character. She didn't act really cringy or anything. The other thing I noticed during this first meeting is that she liked to take charge of the conversation and tended to talk over people. I thought nothing of it at the time, since I was just excited to make friends. After lunch, LB asks if she can tag along with Sweetie and I, since the other 2 girls wanted to go back to their hotel room and rest a bit. We agreed and made our way back to the con. LB wanted to go to the gaming room, and as we followed her there, I noticed how dark and crowded this room looks. I must have looked concerned because Sweetie asked me if I'd be alright. Not wanting to seem like a wet blanket, I tried to suck it up and made a joke about being an anxious crybaby, to which ignited a flame of anger in LB. LB whirled around as we were in the gaming room's doorway and glared at me. "That's ableist of you," she snorted at me. Not knowing what that meant, or what even I had done wrong, I immediately apologized and asked what I had done wrong. LB then continued to tell me that joking about mental illness offends and invalidates everyone who has it. Oh, Christ. I don't think she knew I had anxiety, but I wasn't about to correct her. When people are angry with me or yell at me, I tend to just freeze up and stay quiet. I kept to myself for the rest of the time LB was with us, further apologizing for what I had said. I genuinely believed I had done something horribly wrong. Yeah, you didn't. After the convention, LB had decided to befriend me, asking for Facebook, Tumblr blog numbers, etc., all to which I gave. I was happy she wanted to be my friend, since I thought I really offended her with my joke. We found out that she lived around 45 minutes away from Sweetie and I, so she wanted to become better friends. We didn't talk much, mostly reacted to each other's Facebook statuses until convention number 2 came around. I'll call it CCon for short. CCon was a summer convention that took place about 2 hours away from where we all lived, and none of us had ever been to it before. By now, I was neck deep in cosplay, and loving every minute of it. Just like that Loverboy song. That's why I said it like that. Lame joke. So I was excited to attend another convention. The three of us decided to room together. My parents bought me the hotel room for my birthday. However, asked Sweetie and LB both for $90 so they could pay their part of the room since they were staying in it with us. Sweetie paid my mom in person, as she lived down the street from me at the time, and LB promised she would give it to us in cash at the con. When the day of C-Con finally arrives, we awake early, pack the car, prepared for the long drive. My mom was bringing my aunt with her, so she'd have company for the long weekend, so the car was already a bit smushed. Not even an hour in, I get an instant message on my phone from LB. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Sure, what is it? Can your mom pick me up at my house and drive me to the con with you guys? This threw me for a loop. Not once in the months of planning had LB said she needed a ride. And now the day of, she does. I mean, the car's pretty full already, but I asked my mom anyway, since I didn't want to seem like a bad friend. Mom gets a little annoyed at my question. She had told me prior to this, upon meeting LB, that something didn't sit well with her. I brushed it off, thinking she was just being the overprotective mother that she can be. She tells me we've already passed LB's house, and we can't turn around now. Besides, there's hardly any room left in the car. I tell LB this, and I am met with a barrage of messages. But I have no other way to get to the con. My mom doesn't want to drive me. I already bought tickets. Can't your mom just, turn around and drive 30 minutes back to my house? After nagging at my mom to reconsider, she finally huffed and called LB's mother. They mom-talked over the phone for a few minutes and came to a conclusion. We were approaching Boston. We had to go through it to get to the convention, where it was being held. We could stop there and get breakfast, and LB could take a bus up to Boston. We would meet her there, pick her up, bring her with us the rest of the way. This all seemed like a pretty solid plan, so I messaged LB to let her know. Hey, Mom just got off the phone with your mom, and we can pick you up in Boston if you want to take a bus. We'll drive up together the rest of the way. I was met with pure radio silence. Around 30 minutes later, I receive, never mind, I just won't go. I felt badly about LB deciding not to go, but I didn't want to feel guilty for my entire convention, so I figured, it's kind of her choice, and that was that. C-Con was a lot of fun for Sweetie and I, and we made a ton of new friends. Even had our first cosplay photo shoot together. Oh, that's nice. To be continued in part 2. I'm really glad that you wrote this, because this is pretty interesting. I needed something to pick me up. I read something really serious earlier, and but I'm feeling better. This isn't about that. This, however, reminds me of a story. I actually have a Neckbeard story of my own to pair with this Legbeard story. See, I used to know this guy, this Neckbeard from many years ago, we'll call L. And L was, how do we put this? He was a compulsive liar. He made a lot of shit up. He talked a lot of shit, and he liked to lie. So I'll never forget one time, I was supposed to be bringing him back to Thibodeau. He was here. He was in this podunk little nowhere town where I live, way out in the middle of nowhere. I know we have to go to Thibodeau. That's going to be a 2.5-hour drive. So this is a long fucking drive. Now, for the entire week leading up to this, there was another friend, another Neckbeard friend, we'll call him T, who was supposed to go with L to his house. And they were going to do something, I don't know. I was only going to stay the one day and then come back. Because it's a long fucking drive, and I'm in Thibodeau, so I wanted to make the best of it. Anywho, not the point. Point is, for a, few days leading up to this, before L even gets here, before the 2 days he was here, and before leaving, so 4 or 5 days in total, he and T have been texting back and forth, texting and calling, going on and on about how they're going to go do this, go do this, go do this. It's a big deal, right? So, the day of arrives. I load everything into the car. This is back when I still had my little busted Nissan. And we set off down the road. Okay? We're getting closer and closer to the exit that will bring us towards T's house, and I kind of, I was like, hey, dude, well, is he ready? Like, do we got to pick him up? And he's like, I don't know. I didn't check. I'm like, well, you should check. Oh, well, I don't really think he needs to come over. I don't want that. It's like, well, then you should tell him, because he's probably quite literally waiting for you right now. So, how does L decide to tell his friend that he's not coming over? I know some of you are probably thinking he calls him and just, the usual neckbeard, hemming and hawing until they get out of whatever they're doing. Yeah, no, L chose to take this in a different direction. He calls T and says that we are on our way to Thibodeau, and we're hurrying because his grandfather is in the hospital. L's grandfather was not in the hospital. At all. Even a little bit. Wasn't even sick. So basically, to his friend, he lied about a family member possibly dying so that he wouldn't have to tell him the truth about not having somebody over. Yeah, they're not friends anymore. Are you shocked? This just reminds me of that. They just change all your plans and come do things for me, and the not telling anybody that you're having a problem up until the very day or the exact second of what that problem was. So, yeah, this just reminded me of that story, and I thought I'd share it with you guys because it seems to be a Neckbeard and Legbeard trait of you have all this time to get your shit together, and you didn't manage to do any of it. Why? Weird shit. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate your story submission. And I would like to hear from all of you. So if you want to send your own stories or fan fiction, I forget that. I'm not asking for fan fiction. I'm asking for fan art. I'm not even asking for that. Oh, God, what did I just open the floodgates on? Anyway, if you want to send your own stories or whatever, you can send them to my subreddit at r/Moonhorse Stories. I check it every day, and now I get the impression it's going to be filled with some very strange things. Alright, fuck it, let's do this. I look forward to whatever it is you want to send me. But if you'd like to support this show, I would greatly appreciate that. And you can do that by going to my Patreon, which is in the link below, and either below or above that, because honestly I can't remember what order I put the links in. There should be a link also for a store where you can buy Moonhorse merchandise, either below or above the other link. I honestly literally don't remember. I just remember they're all down there, and then I spent like 10 seconds trying to think about the order and completely fucking blanked. I'm a professional. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you all, and goodbye. Goodbye.